get underway. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the rescheduled webinar on leveraging AI to understand and action every customer request. We had this webinar originally for the 16th of May. We had technical difficulties, and we're now running it once again with a little bit more detail and a demo that should hopefully give you a view of the product. My name is Anish Gupta. I am from Centelli. We are a partner of UiPath, and we focus on solutions of deploying digital workers to automate repetitive tasks. And increasingly, our customers have been asking us for handling unstructured text, and we're quite lucky to have communications mining as a solution available to us. I'm joined by Tom Golbiowski from UiPath. He's a solution engineer and a product expert. I'll be talking about the challenges that our customers are seeing, and then Tom is going to be talking about how those challenges are overcome with solutions with communications mining. And then we'll go into some specific use cases of where communications mining is currently being used. I'm sure there are more, but let's at least understand where it is being deployed today. In a business, every message counts, and communication is, end of the day, the fuel on which businesses run. So whether this communication be customers asking for information to place an order, or querying customer status, or just engaging with the business to understand how service is happening or how product delivery is happening, there's a lot of communication that takes place. Communication can happen in structured ways where they could be sending messages through applications, but it could be unstructured with emails, phone calls, chats, etc. as well. That's the external side. Internally, we have communication going on just to understand how colleagues are working and what colleagues are trying to get done. And this could possibly be even more, if not less than what customers are telling us to be. In either case, a communication is, slides seem to have a little mind of their own. In either case, there's an opportunity here to understand the value of what communication is and what's being communicated at a macro level rather than at an individual level, which is where we are today. Just to give you some stats, there were approximately 300 billion emails, that were 306 billion emails sent in 2020, according to a survey by Ready Active Group. And there's a growth rate of 4% annually, which means that just within this year, we're going to be spending about 14 billion extra emails, not what we've already done, but 14 billion new emails to add to this communication. And emails is just one part of the puzzle. So that's a lot of communication that is happening. And increasingly, there's no cost to sending an email. So everybody sends one and forgets about it. But as a customer, or even as a sender of an email, I expect a response. But when we have organizations that are inundated, responding to every single request gets an increasingly difficult challenge. And that's what we're trying to address. Now, the opportunity is big. So according to a study by McKinsey, there's 28% of the time is spent in managing email and associated tasks. 30% of employees say email is their biggest distraction from real work. And 78% of companies say that they're not satisfied with the way they're using data or they're managing that communication for customer interactions. According to a study by Alice Boyles in Psychology Today, email is one of the most common triggers for social anxiety and productivity-related anxiety. This impacts employees, and if it impacts our employees, it's directly impacting the service we're delivering or how smoothly our organization is running. Now, that's not to say we haven't been doing something about it till now. This is not a new problem, but the traditional methods of analyzing communication has been through surveys and sampling. And what we're doing through surveys and sampling is we're taking a small set of data and then trying to understand what it is in a structured way and trying to extrapolate it to say, what does the broader world, what could this mean to the broader data set? challenges with this, first of all, it's not timely. It happens after the fact. It's not cost effective or it doesn't scale. And thirdly, more importantly, it doesn't really communicate with any application further. So it might tell us some information after the event has happened, but that's about it. And then we're still left with, I understand the problem, but how do I solve it? The second word is trying to use keyword and hard-coded rules. And this is probably the one example we see happening most places. A simple example of handling communication is using Outlook and or Exchange rules or Gmail rules to filter emails. They work on keywords and they work on rules which have been predefined. First of all, keywords are hard. They're not flexible. So I can't, if I say something match order, then that is the word it will look for. If a customer misspells it, it'll get missed. Okay. It is also retrospective. It is based on what I know. But what happens if there's a new scenario happening and that will just sit in the general pool of new, what do we do with this? So they don't lack flexibility. They break if the rules aren't followed or the information from the other side doesn't follow in a consistent way. The third way we've been trying is saying, well, let's get rid of all of this unstructured text and redirect people to web forms and tickets. Again, great. Yes, as an approach, it works. But what we're doing is we're adding an additional step in the communication journey for a user, whether it be customer or internal, and that's not ideal. So what we want to do is we want to take friction out. We want to make processes as lean as possible and take it down to the easiest way for people to communicate, which should be free text. So we do want to understand what every customer wants. We do want to track service in real time. We don't want it to be retrospect. And the only way we can do that is we've got to start getting ahead of the analysis and not doing retrospective analysis. And we have to look at trying to automate management of this communication. And that's where we're very excited with communication mining, because communication mining gives us the opportunity to go from retrospective to prospective and look at all emails. Okay, Tom, going to hand over to you. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat window. We will get to questions afterwards, and we'll also answer questions as we go along in the chat window.
Perfect. Thank you, Anish. Yeah, that was a really great introduction to the challenge and kind of setting the scene about kind of why a tool like this exists and generally why solutions like this are needed. The communications mining tool in particular, the UiPath Communications Mining tool, is obviously a part of the UiPath Business Automation platform. This is the layer that we use for understanding what's going on in the communication channel so that we can drive automation, drive action using the digital workers. What's critical here to understand is that this is a machine learning tool, right? This is a machine learning solution. It means that we're training an artificial intelligence to be able to read and interpret and extract relevant information from those emails, from those tickets, from those, chats, whatever it may be, as if it was a human, by giving it training data, giving it examples, and teaching it to be able to then make predictions. And the way that we do that is three very simple steps. One, we connect up to the communications channel in Focus. We train a model within communications mining, a machine learning natural language processing model. And there are four main steps to that. And then once we've trained it, we have all of this rich structured data that we can use to drive action. And that action could be an automated action, or it could be just general analytics, understanding what's going on, setting up an alert, really getting that insight into what's going on in that channel, as Anish just talked about. So the four steps for training a model. One, as I said before, we connect up to a number of different channels, including Exchange, Salesforce, and more. We use these pre-built connectors or the APIs to get data into the platform. You then train the model using guidance from the platform. So what's critical with a machine learning project is to make sure you get the right training data. And that means avoiding bias. It means getting enough training samples. It means getting training samples that are representative of the full data set. And communications mining guides a user through this process within the no-code UI. And that means that business people, people who aren't data scientists, people who don't have machine learning expertise, can follow the steps, follow the training, and train these models very quickly. Once those models are trained, you can then discover what's going on in that channel with the reporting, with the analytics, with the monitoring capabilities to identify trends and discover new clusters, new kind of concepts, and constantly be monitoring that channel for change. And then with that, obviously driving automation, using the predictions, using the structured data to have a robot take work away from, so have it to a digital worker, take work away from the humans so they can focus on the more complex tasks. Key considerations we often see with AI that we've baked into this tool, into this workflow. One is making sure that you're using the relevant training data. Sometimes we see with some of these generative AI tools in the news that the training data that you provide to it gets used for training everyone else's models, or that you ask it a question and that gets taken as training and spits out the answer to someone halfway across the world. With communications mining and UiPath kind of approach to AI in general, the training data that we provide is in your environment. It's safe, it's secure. It's not going to be accessible by other clients for their models. Similarly, bringing in guardrails, having human in the loop, having humans validate predictions, set confidence thresholds, being able to actually train the model in the right way, in the safest possible way, to make sure that you can trust the predictions that come out at the other end. And then finally, general kind of human input at other parts in the process. For example, let's say you have a use case where you have communications mining, read an email, read an incoming secure message, makes a prediction about what it's about. The robot then generates a prompt, sends it to generative AI to create a response, right? Bringing in a human at the right time to review what's been predicted, what's been created before it gets sent to the customer. It's all about kind of that safe, secure workflow to make sure that you're using AI in the best possible way for your organization. I'm going to move into a minute into the demo, but I guess the really interesting thing here is, okay, well, what do we extract? What can we actually teach the model to learn to get from the emails, from the message, from the ticket? So the message comes in. We would use communications mining to look at things like the key intent, the key insights. So the key structured data. In this case, we've got an order management email. We teach from communications mining to extract relevant entities like the order number, the material number, the address. All of this is customized to your use case. We'd also teach the model to extract the intent to understand what the message is about. In this case, not only are they wanting to change the quantity of the order, they're also wanting to change the delivery address, right? Multiple intents, multiple categories. Similarly, they're giving us insight into the quality of our service, right? In this case, it's a chaser, it's a follow-up, but also there's some negative sentiment. So with all of these things, we could then drive actions like automation, to have a robot, a digital worker, then update the ERP software with this information, having another digital worker trigger a response email, and from that analytics, understanding how positive, what's our quality of our service, how are we actually delivering the right experience to our customers. With that, I'm going to show you a quick demo, and I'm going to show you how you train a model in communications mining and how you actually drive some of these analytics and automations off the back of that. So let me just switch to my other screen. And as Anish said, any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Great. So you should now be seeing UiPath Communications Mining. Can you confirm that, Anish, for me? You should see review RSX9.
Yep, all good, Tom.
Perfect. So what I'm showing you now is communications mining for a data set for insurance underwriting emails, right? The content of the data doesn't really matter. The point here is we've got a mixture of requests, right? Free form text, people asking about their premiums, asking for change of policy, renewals, all sorts of things going on. But the key thing here is it's expressed in natural language. In this case, we have about 113,000 emails, and we have the emails in the context of their thread, right? So we have the conversation, as well as all of the metadata associated with the email. For example, we know who sent the message, when the message was sent, the time between the messages in the thread, all of that really rich information to help us understand the whole picture. And to give you an example, we have e-commerce customers as well who will pull in spend data from their CRM. And that means that they can look at things like, okay, what are our most valuable customers asking about? What are our most valuable customers complaining about? Perhaps we should prioritize that as a change initiative because it's impacting the customers that are spending the most amount of money with us. So to recap, we pull in these emails, nothing's been labeled, and we have all of this key metadata that we can pull from other systems. Now, to train the model, as I explained earlier, I was going to show, very simply, you follow this training tab at the top. So one of the features of the platform is to guide you through training a machine learning model. And you can see here now I've clicked on this train tab that nothing's been trained already, right? We have 0 labels, 0 verbatims reviewed. 0% reviewed. And what communications mining is doing is guiding me through that process. One, I could upload a taxonomy. That means I could upload a predefined list of categories if I know in advance what I'm looking for. But that's optional. I don't have to. I can let the data guide me. The next thing, I can review clusters of emails, clusters of similar looking messages to actually label things en masse and gather that training data quickly. So if I give that a click, it will take me to that training. So what we can see here are 6 examples of messages that communications mining thinks are the same. And you can see from the underlining why communications mining thinks they might be the same. So at this point, a subject matter expert, someone who knows the data, would very simply just say what they see, right? These are all increase in limits, categorizing the email with their own business language. All of this is custom, right? All of this is your own business language. Maybe for the purpose of this demo, this one isn't an increase in limits. Very simply, remove that label and change it to whatever it is. Let's say it's a change of address. I know it's not, but this is just for the purpose of the demo. Similarly, I can extract some of these key data points, like the policy number, again, with a custom entity that I can define up front. All of this is custom. And I can just teach communications mining by highlighting things for what they, to show it an example of a policy number. And communications mining typically needs about 25 examples per concept to start learning and to start making predictions. Now, already I've given it 6 examples of an increase in limits and 6 examples of a policy number. Now I can move on to the next one. This is a quote, but more specifically, it's a quote for home insurance. And I've done it kind of hierarchical because I could have multiple types of quote. So if I apply that label, in fact, this one is asking for life insurance. So actually, we can remove that. We can put quote life insurance. So very simply, I can just be dynamic with providing the right label. This is asking for life and home. So I can put that as well. Multiple levels of categorization, as I explained before. So the idea is that communications mining, you'd follow the steps, you follow the training. That's a little bit of training that's done. The next thing, it's giving me new examples. I can review low confidence predictions. I can review random verbatims. I very simply would follow the steps, follow the guided training. And after about a day's worth of effort, the model is going to look something like this. So I've now switched to the same data after we trained the model. You can see we've reviewed about 1% of the data to get to this point, which means we've annotated about 1,420 examples. And some of the training it's giving me is more specific, right, for particular labels that aren't performing too well. So very simple for the subject matter expert to follow the training. We provide more rich validation metrics behind the scenes. So if you're more technical, you can look at mean average precision, precision recall. You can finely tune concepts based on the precision recall curve, based on your use case, and you can even look at F1 scores for your entities. And if there are certain things you want to optimize, communications mining will give you the recommended actions, the recommended training to improve that precision rate by providing the right training examples at the right time. So that's how you train the model. I'm now going to show the output of this, right? This is the most important thing. What do you actually do with that model? So with communications mining in this reports tab, we can actually start to analyze the outcomes. So we can see here on the left all of the entities that we're tracking, all of these key structured data points, and all of these labels, all of these intent labels, things like claims, complaints, payment confirmations, policy amendments, all sorts of things in this mailbox. We can see in the tree map a proportionate breakdown, so we get that visibility into our operations that maybe we didn't have before. And again, all of this is automatic. So if you've currently got people who are spending time manually categorizing things, there's a time saving immediately. You could use communications mining to auto categorize. And we have customers that will track as many as 200, 250 different categories. In this case, I think we've only got about 60, but we can go really granular with our insight into what's going on. So you can see claims, for example. We could look at trends. How are things changing over time? Maybe we want to look at claims. Maybe we've implemented a new claims software. We want to see if we're seeing any trends in claims. Are people still sending us claims via email after we implement the new software? Who knows, right? But it's about the use case. It's about understanding what's going on. Similarly, we look at these labels. We're getting a lot of payment errors. Okay, well, where are those payment errors coming from? If we look at our segment view and we look at the sender, a lot of those payment errors are coming from one particular source. Now that's giving us the root cause, the insight into where we can improve our processes to reduce demand. So communications mining isn't just about automation, it's about understanding opportunities to improve our processes, improve our efficiency, improve our productivity, and improve our customer experience. Obviously, from an automation angle, we want to find out what we can automate here. We can very simply apply a filter for thread durations. So if I applied a filter for thread number of messages 0 to 2, so email comes in, email goes out, I can see an updated report to show me the most transactional request types in this mailbox. And this is giving me a clear kind of pipeline for end-to-end automation opportunities. So very simply, if I identify something I want to automate, I would configure what we call a stream, which is a kind of an API endpoint or like a point, kind of a filter for every single new renewal email that you could then use UiPath Studio, use the kind of the rest of the UiPath platform to define the actions of what happens when you receive that policy renewal. So an example of this, we have a mailbox where we've got communications mining sat in the background monitoring it. Emails come in, communications mining makes a prediction, in this case that it's a policy renewal, and then that hands it over to a robot, and the robot will then follow the designated actions, right? In this case, creating a renewal request, sending out a renewal contract, moving it to the renewal folder. Again, in this case, we've got communications mining making a prediction that it's an insurance quote, and that kicks off a process for a robot to move it into the quotes folder. Very simple, using communications mining to do that initial understanding, and then using digital workers to actually automate the processes. And if the communications mining threshold doesn't get met, it just gets handled normally by a human, normal exception handling. But obviously with that key thing that we're getting all of that insight into those processes. The final thing for this demo is just to say we can also do sentiment analytics. So here we have some hotel reviews. We can see that a lot of people are complaining about, room temperature, bedroom size. And so we can get really quite granular insight into things like the quality of the service and the sentiment that's being expressed and tone. So that's it from the demo. I think I'm going to switch back to the deck now and just talk through a couple of use cases. But again, if there are any questions, please feel free to bring them up in a minute when we come on to the Q&A.
We've got a couple of questions on that have been. Oh, there's a question that's been posted, which I think might be useful while you're on the demo.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
If I can interrupt your flow. So the question is from Kunal, and he's asking, how many communication points do we need to get started using the solution?
Yeah, so we would recommend the best use cases for communications mining are mailboxes or channels where you're seeing more than 100,000 messages a year, right? And that's because this platform is really designed for scale. The more messages, the better the value. From a kind of a proof of concept, from a kind of just a technical requirement, if you have a sample of 10,000 emails, like 10,000 emails from the last 3 months or 6 months, whatever it may be, we could train a model with 10,000. But yeah, from a commercial standpoint, it makes sense to find use cases that have more than 100,000, 200,000. But yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
Okay, good. There's another one which is on the training part.
Yes.
That it does seem like, so I'm going to read the question out, that seems like a lot of work to train. Is communication mining smart enough to understand new training information has been provided and reassess the data automatically? If it is doing it automatically, then the effort to train will keep decreasing as information is provided.
Yeah. So to give you some insight on the effort to train, the key thing here is this is a machine learning AI tool, right? So if you were to build this in the traditional method using an in-house data science team with a cognitive AI tool, they would need to speak to the business, define requirements, gather thousands of training examples, train the model, build kind of the infrastructure and the additional tools to be able to consume those predictions. Projects like that take months, right? Take 3, 4, 5 months to spin up one model. With communications mining, because we're doing it in this no-code interface, the initial training typically takes about 12 hours worth of effort. And that depends on the complexity of the model. I've seen models trained in as little as 4 or 5 hours. So when you compare it to kind of the traditional build, it's very much minimal effort. And then the maintenance on top of that is typically an hour every month or so. And there's the active learning in there as well. So every time if you send a communication prediction for review by a human, you can have that fed back into the system to improve the prediction next time, improve the performance of the model next time, which again, improves. It's active learning, right, and active training. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Which is, I think, the key part, that if we're doing active learning, as you're providing information, it is updating and it's constantly learning.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yes, the
And the
effort
models are
should decrease over
multilingual as
time.
well, right? So if you've got a team based in the
Okay.
UK, a support team based in the UK, you train a model in English, and then you've got the same team in France doing the same work in, French. You create the model in English, you train it up in like that 6, 10 hours, whatever I said. You can very simply just duplicate it, copy and paste it for that other mailbox, regardless of the language. So the scalability here is, I mean, we've got customers that have scaled 500 models in 6 months because they can copy and paste, they can build models in days and weeks rather than it taking months. So yeah, hopefully that adds more to the answer.
Cool. There's another one which says, can you serve multiple API endpoints for
Yeah.
a digital worker to concurrently pick up through the streams functionality?
Yeah, I didn't show the streams in great detail there, but yes, absolutely. You can configure multiple streams for multiple endpoints. So for example, if you wanted every time a renewal email came in for that to get sent to a process for a bot to pick up, a digital worker to pick up, you could have a stream for that. If you also wanted a stream for a digital worker to pick up address changes, again, it depends on what you want to automate, but absolutely we can configure different endpoints for the different request types, different processes.
Good. Sorry, I segued into Q&A. I thought it would be relevant to the demo.
No, all relevant, absolutely
Then
relevant.
nothing else. We can go back to the slides.
Absolutely relevant. Am I still presenting?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
We can see the slide now.
Brilliant. So just to recap, and we'll get back to the Q&A in a second because this is only going to be a quick recap. From what we've shown you in this in this demo, in this webinar, the key thing here about communications mining, or just kind of communications understanding kind of capability, it's a new way to get AI into your business, right? It's a quick and easy way to get business users and automation teams training up machine learning models to interpret communications to get AI into the business and scale it quickly, right? In this safe environment. Obviously, you can transform your customer experience and your processes by understanding what's going on in these channels that maybe you didn't have before, and generally growing the ROI of other initiatives. A really interesting use case I've seen is you use communications mining to identify what's going on in a channel. And let's say you implement then a self-service portal to start to handle some of those requests, or a chatbot. You can use communications mining to measure the fall-through rate and see if people are actually using these other channels. Or if you implement a change to a process, are people still complaining and still sending you emails about that problem? You can use comms mining, use that monitoring capability to actually measure and track the ROI of other change initiatives. An example of a use case that we typically see is this kind of auto triage, auto routing, where emails come in. Previously, we have a lot of manual work to determine the intent. With the digital worker and communications mining, reviewing what's going on, prioritizing and sending to the right place, and even triggering process automations, you can speed up your processing time, delivering better experience to your customers, better experience to your employees, and all delivered, within a month worth of time from kind of training up that model to building the automation. Right, these are very quick projects to spin up. So yeah, typical use cases: the mining piece and the automation piece. And I think if you're looking for use cases in your organization, mining really applies regardless of the kind of the department. Where you have channels of high volume communication, we can do the mining piece. We can give you the insight. We can give you all the process improvements, continuous improvement opportunities. From an automation standpoint, we typically find support desks and service desks and operation desks are the best places to find those opportunities. But really, this is quite an agnostic technology, regardless of department or industry. I think with that, I'm going to pass back to Anish, and then I think we can go back to the Q&A.
Thanks, Tom. If there are any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A or the chat window, or raise your hand and we can unmute you, and you can ask a question out directly. Yeah. But if there are no other questions, then what we do is we will be sending out a short survey. We'd love to hear your feedback on the webinar, and also what other topics you would like to hear about. Our plan is to organize industry-specific webinars in the future. So we'll talk about specific use cases for hotels or automotive or insurance, and then we can dive into those use cases in detail. We're also available to do one-on-one. So if you are interested, then please feel free to reach out to us at info@centelli.com or through the contact form on the website. and we'd be happy to go into specific uses for you. As a follow-on from this webinar, we will be offering free proof of concepts to the first 5 organizations that reach out to us. So please do mention the webinar when you do connect and to avail of this offer. But the links for more information are either on our website at centelli.com or on the UiPath website. We will be sending out a link to the recording in a couple of days, and as well to all participants. I think that's it. Tom, we don't have any questions. We're a little ahead of time, but that's always good. 10, 12 minutes back is always welcome by everyone. So thank you very much for showing us the tool, and hopefully we've helped our attendees understand where communication mining can help solve the big communication problem that's coming up. Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Good.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.